Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Live Life Golden Show. This is episode 41, Overcoming Fear and Living from Your Power. We are taking our power back on all fronts today. This is a conversation that needs to happen, and I feel like that now is the perfect time. It's the absolute perfect time for us to have this conversation going into a new year, taking on new energies. For whatever reason, people believe that, our energy is creating the entire year. And the reason for that is because we wake up every single day with the same thoughts and we're responding to what life circumstances are giving to us. So in order for us to take our power back, we have to change our response. So if you're a big believer in 2022 being something totally different, great. Because what that is that's just setting you up for success. It's setting you up in a belief system that things are getting better, that things are moving in the right direction. And if you're a big news watcher, you probably don't feel this way. So my first advice, first and foremost, always is turn off the freaking news because it is total fear mongering. It is, I have tuned in a couple of times over the last year just to kind of see what's out there. And I'm just like, my jaw drops of what is being promoted and just the fear and just all of the information that a lot of people are listening to. And that's why, they've lived the last few years in their life in total fear and not allowing themselves to expand and grow, but instead to feel like they can hide and avoid something. We can't ever really avoid something. If you're trying to avoid something, you will often create it because what we resist persists. So if you're hiding in your house because you don't want to experience something, if you are meant to have this experience, you will have it no matter how much you hide in your house. So it's really, really interesting. I remember when my kids were little and, our friends, we would hang out with a lot of friends that had kids. And if their kids got sick, we would be like, oh, I don't want to hang out with you. Like the stomach bug, right? Like that's like the worst thing when you're a parent is the kids having the stomach bug. It's just nasty. I mean, even as a person, I'm not a big fan of the stomach bug. So what we would do is we would, not get together with people and we would, that fear was there. You had that fear. Oh no, the stomach bug is making its rounds. I got to stay home. I got to avoid it. I got to disinfect. I got to do all these things in trying to avoid it. And we would always end up getting whatever it was that we were trying to avoid. And I didn't know about law of attraction back then. I didn't know about universal energy. I didn't know that what I was really thinking about and contemplating was trying not to get something instead of trying to be something, trying to be healthy, right? Working towards health instead of trying to avoid sickness, trusting in my health, having faith in my health. So after a while, we just got together. I mean, we wouldn't get together if somebody was like really had symptoms, but it was just like, if you're going to get it, you're going to get it. And I don't know why I'm on the stomach bug thing, but actually a few years ago, all of us got it. There was 11 of us and 10 of us got it. And the one person, and this was Christmas, like Christmas Eve, I was so sick. And then after that, Christmas Day, we had a few people sick. It was a nightmare. It was like the nightmare Christmas, right? And I remember my son-in-law didn't get it. And I remember he has such a chill attitude about sickness. He's like, if you're going to get it, you're going to get it. And here we all are trying to pop vitamins and trying to stay healthy and being worried about getting sick. And he never got it after being exposed from 10 different people. So I really took that to heart. I took that to heart and said, what am I doing? What am I creating? I've never been afraid of what's happening in the world right now. I mean, in the beginning, maybe because it was so unsure and there was such uncertainty, but I always feel like I get universal information. So I always feel like I get these tip-offs from non-physical or just things come across my path to create less fear for me. And then I tend to be surrounded by people who don't live in fear. And most of you know, over the last few years of my life, I have not shrunk back. I have not stayed home. In the beginning, I did just because there was nowhere to go. but I always went to the gym. I always worked out. I always stayed in health. I stopped drinking alcohol. I did all the things that would actually boost my immune system. And I think that is really, really, really important right now, is to get your immune system, running at peak performance so that you can be like, I've checked off all my boxes. So I've done everything that I can. Hiding in our houses, this may make me unpopular and this may make you stop listening to me. At this point, I just don't give a shit. Like, I have to give voice to this stuff. California just came under another mask thing, and it's not a mandate. It was a letter that was put down from the health department, and most people are ignoring it right now. And I have to say, for myself, the mask thing, and I've shared this before, has always been really challenging for me. And I'm digging down deeper into why. And one is because I have a trauma. I was, almost suffocated many, many times as a child. And so that having something over my face and my nose is like, I want to scream. So it gets to be like almost a panic attack. So, but I'm a powerful creator. So I worked with it and I did what I needed to do at the first go around and did what made everybody happy. I actually had a mesh mask that I could kind of breathe through. And then the second time around, I've had to wear one at the dentist's office. I still have this feeling, and it's just not a good feeling. So then the other reasons are, it's the disconnection. It's the connection that we have through smiling, through talking, through being able to hear someone and what they're saying. We go to the grocery store now and there's like plexiglass and they have the mask, and it's like, it's hard for us to have fun. It's hard for us to connect. It's hard for us to be lighthearted. So that's another reason. If you do any sort of research on the microbiome, we need to be exposed to germs. We need to be able to have that foundation in our bodies. If we are trying to always, sanitize, oh my God, please just stop using the sanitizers that they're giving you at the stores. Those are just horrible. They interrupt your endocrine system. They interrupt your hormones. Like, they're just so bad. So I use like an all natural hand sanitizer, but as far as like bacteria goes and things like that, like we need some of that stuff in our body. So look up microbiome if you're interested, because that conversation blows all this shit away. Like, everything that we have been like, we're working to be programmed on it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So I'm a researcher. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I did get, involved in some of that, and it never made me feel good. So conspiracy theories do create a lot of fear. They do create a lot of powerlessness. And that's why I stopped tuning into that stuff. So I've really just kind of protected my field, and I've lived in my joy, and joy, appreciation, and love are higher than any sort of illness. So if you put yourself in a higher vibration, I have had COVID. I've had it. My kids have had it. I didn't get really sick. I lost my taste for a little while. I had some weird sinus stuff going on. I had a migraine for a little bit. But it wasn't anything that took me out. I have kids that got really sick with it and they recovered, and that was my family story. So I'm going to live in my joy, and I'm not going to live in this fearful place that people are trying to get us to live in so that we can be controlled, because fear actually is a powerless position where people can control you by telling you things that are going to cause you to be in anxiety. When you are in anxiety, you shut down your wisdom channel. So you basically interrupt your internal guidance, and you can't work from the framework of your own calling, of your own heart's desire, and what your heart is calling you to do, or what makes sense for you as a person. That common sense, what is right for me? And that is that disconnection. That connection actually is what is going to help us to overcome all of this. The more connected we are, there's a movie it was on YouTube. I don't know if it still is. It's called Thrive. And it's really interesting. It was actually, I think it was from the Procter and Gamble family. Somebody, one of the Gambles, two of the Gambles had created this movie about the families, and it's conspiracy theory stuff, but it's really interesting. The thing that I took away from that movie that really has stuck with me, I've seen that movie like 7 years ago, was meditation is the cure for all of this. Because if we all get super connected, self-realized, waking up, knowing who we are, knowing we have the power to create that, and we heal, right? Because when we're in low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and powerlessness, we're in a trauma state. So when we heal, we get out of those traumas, and then people can't bully us. They can't push us around. So that's really important and really necessary. The other thing is being very, very diligent about what you are tuning your frequencies into. Yes, it's good to know what's going on, but sometimes like the headlines and the things that we are taking as truth are basically just propaganda to get us to be in fear and to believe something that we do not want to happen. So we've got to stay true to tuning that frequency to the joy, to the love, to the appreciation. There is so much more in life right now than this stuff that's being promoted. We can take our power back. We can live our lives fully if we just tune that shit out. Just stop spending so much attention, because what you focus on expands. So the more of us that focus on that and the more of us that feel powerless by it, the less control we're going to have about what we're doing in 2022. So there you go. All right. That's my soapbox. Geez, Louise, I didn't know I was going to go off on that. All right. So I have a couple things to promote. And then I'm going to get into this fear discussion, and it's going to give you a new perspective of fear. It's going to help you to drill down into your fears so you can release them. And then it's going to help you to have a whole new understanding of what fear is and how to tune it into excitement instead of fear. It's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, so exciting things are happening at the Live Life Goldyn headquarters. I got my audiobook done this week, which is so exciting. So that is being edited. Quantum Speak will be on audio very soon, probably like the first week of the new year. That's going to be on Audible. So I'm super, oh my gosh, so excited about that. That was really, really fun. The other thing is now I am accepting donations and subscribers to the podcast. So I have a $5 tier and a $20 tier, and then just a regular donation tier. And you can also gift Live Life Goldyn to someone. And this is just to help me run the podcast. It's to show the exchange of energy of what you've received so far. My $20 members are going to be that's monthly. They're going to be my VIP members, and you're going to get special things. You're going to get guided meditations, emotional releases. Any bonus episodes will go to you guys first. And I might even do, I don't know, I like to get my podcast out as soon as possible. So I don't think I'm going to do any drag on that. But there's going to be good stuff. And now I have products. I'm so excited. So I've created a little store, a little shop in Redbubble, and they create everything for you. And I've gotten some products so far. So I'm really happy with the quality is amazing, and all of the products say Live Life Goldyn. So I wanted to give you guys a little indication of what living life golden means, and how having these products, water bottles, coffee cups, shirts. I've got all sorts of stuff in there. I'm still working on it. It's been super fun. I love being creative like this, and I love creating things. So what it means to live life golden and what these products can do to help you be reminded to live life golden. So this is it. You're taking your power back on every front. It's my new favorite saying. You're training your mind so you can create your life. So you're no longer letting that monkey mind have its way with you. You're tuning your frequency and raising your thoughts higher. So when you start to get in a pattern, when you start to get into a habit of thought, when you start to get into an addiction to emotions, you are pulling your energy up. You are pulling yourself higher, and you're asking for that connection, that infinite wisdom to help you focus on what you love, focus on what you appreciate, focus on what's higher, what's good in my life, what's good in my life. I do this all the time, and it is the most fascinating thing to tune your frequency into something different so you don't go down the rabbit hole. Love. Okay, so that's working on your expansion. Yes, it's all about working on your growth and your expansion. The reminder to foster your connection through meditation. Meditation is number one, quieting that mind, getting a hold of the mind, and creating a stronger relationship between you and infinite intelligence. It's also a reminder to be lighthearted, funny, and have fun. You guys know I've got Fun Friday. I have fun a lot. I really, most of my intention when I'm walking around is just to be lighthearted, to crack jokes, to make people laugh, to lighten people's energy fields. That is my intention. So these products have that little energy in them. Dance. I've been dancing lately. I can't stop dancing lately. I think it's just when you're in that higher frequency and you're happy and you're full of love and appreciation, music just pulls you even higher. And when you can move your body with the music, it's just it's so much fun, and I get other people involved, and I love that. And live your dreams, right? Like, let's go live our dreams. Let's get out of fear. Let's pull ourselves, to that. What does that mean for me? What is that identity? How do I activate that? And let's start living our dreams, because I'm going to tell you right now, 6-7 years ago, I was not living my dreams. I was super, super miserable. And I had to find a way to be happy where I was in order to, create that dream. And I also had to take huge leaps of faith. My husband, myself had to take huge leaps of faith and just go through this fear. Just like, just get through it. Just go through it. Just feel it, heal whatever needed to be healed. And then being on the other side of that, like the capacity for joy, it is so freaking worth it. So whatever you are thinking, if you're thinking about moving careers, locations, whatever it is completely possible for you. It is probable for you if you have that desire in your heart, and letting go letting go of the fear and working towards it is it's a huge step in your expansion and growth. It's a huge step in you strengthening your faith and becoming more and trusting in that universal relationship, that co-creative relationship with God, source, universe, whatever you like to call it. It's there, and you will see evidence of it, and you will see miracles, and it is thrilling. It is so much better than just shrinking back and hiding and wishing and hoping and praying. So much better. All right, so fear. So I looked up the definition of fear, as you know I love to do. Fear is, interestingly, a noun, which I thought was interesting, and I'll tell you why in a sec. An unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. So I thought it was interesting that it was a noun, because I will, the times that I've been in like serious fear, there has been physical evidence of it. It doesn't feel like a noun. It feels like a verb, right? It's a noun, which means it's just a belief. It's just a story. It's a way that we create a story around something that evokes a physical response. That's what a panic attack is. It's that we've got a trauma, we've got energy stuck in our body, and then we've got all these thoughts and the story around it. And it just creates all this physical evidence of it that causes us not to be able to, that causes us not to be in control. We're totally not in control when we feel that way. So those fears that you have live deep inside of you, and they are most likely connected to traumas. So these are the different ways that fears kind of get inside of us and create energy that actually create belief systems that actually become a part of our identity. So first one is like childhood. If you have childhood traumas, they can be very small. They can be these small little memories where you just decided something. You decided that you were unlovable. You decided that people don't like you. A decision that you made around a trauma now becomes a fear that you carry forward, and you don't feel it all the time, but it gets triggered through certain circumstances in your life that mimic that vibration, whatever that feeling was when you experienced that trauma. Generational. We have generational energy. We have this generational energy from our grandparents, from our parents, the way that we are raised. You have like a collective energy in your family when you were growing up. If you grew up with a grandmother or a mother who was always afraid that you were going to get hurt, then you're going to have those, and that's probably a trauma from their childhood, right? Then you're going to have that tendency to always tell your kids to be careful, or always tell your kids about the dangers out there, or always to be thinking about that yourself, right? And that collective energy too, there's a collective energy in the world, like the collective consciousness, which is basically the world energy. And there is a shit ton of fear in that right now, a shit ton. Mostly the fear right now is the fear of getting sick and dying, or getting someone else sick and they die. That's the That's the biggest fear. And it's so powerless because, the thing with illness is like, what control do you have over it? I mean, you can take your health back, you can eat healthy, you can exercise, you can take vitamins, you can get in the sunshine, you can do all of that stuff, which I would highly recommend. But as far as like, if you're meant to get a sickness, an illness, a stomach bug, a cold, any of that stuff, then you're going to get it. You're going to get it. And I will say, in my experience and my belief system now with illnesses, I believe that there's a clearing that's happening, that you're clearing out low vibrational energy. I mean, think about it. There is crap coming out of your body. So you're clearing low vibrational energy so that you can get into a higher frequency, because these energies live within us and they have to have a way to get out. So if you don't do the emotional work, then oftentimes it will show up in illness and it will allow you to expel it that way. So if you think about sickness like that, if you think about every time you get a cold or something like that, a stomach bug or whatever, if you think, oh, this is just low vibe shit leaving my body, you will actually be sick for less time because you're not in that energy of sickness. You're actually in the energy of the up level. So interesting. I actually shifted to that a few years ago and it has transformed everything I have gotten. I'm just expelling. I'm just getting the low vibe shit out so I can get into a higher frequency. So cool. That's a belief system, right? Belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So why not believe that? Why not believe that your stupid head cold is an up level? Why not? It just feels better. And because it feels better, it tunes you into a different station. Someone close to us experienced a trauma, or we experienced a trauma ourselves. Frequencies that we've tuned into because of those belief systems that we grew up with, or because of something we hear, something we hear on the radio or something we hear on the news or something we see on our Facebook feed triggers a fear and tunes us into the frequency. And then before you know it, more things will be coming to you that are of the same vibrational energy. Fear creates feelings of powerlessness and a need to retreat, to feel safe, to hide, to shut down, right? Like we shut down our hearts. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to put ourselves out there. We don't want to be with people, because it's scary. It's a scary world out there. And you don't know. This is the biggest, oh my goodness, this one drives me crazy. You don't know who's carrying what. So somebody who looks totally healthy and fine could actually transmit something to you. And that makes me crazy. That makes me crazy because, walking around acting as if we're sick is insane. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. We have to walk around in our power, in our health, in our belief that we are healthy. It's the way to take our power back, truly. I didn't know it was going to be so controversial today. Hopefully, I would think if you're listening to me, you probably are on a similar page. And if you're not, then you know what? Then don't listen to this part of it. Like don't let it cause you to not want to listen to this information because like that one little thing turns you off. It's like, just consider it, just consider it, or go within and see if it feels like truth to you, because this is my truth. And these are the things that I believe. It doesn't necessarily have to be yours. But I have found, living this life of more, of expansion, of growth is all about getting out of that comfort zone, moving through that fear, making my own decisions for myself from my own inner guidance about what makes sense. When I am faced with a decision, this is what I do. So I will often, especially if I'm like in doubt about something, like you would think doubt is like definitely a reason to not do something, right? But that's the mind. That's the mechanism of the mind. So I always question my doubt. So when I'm in doubt about something, I'll just say, all right, energy, show me where to go next. Show me what is, where, and then I will pay attention to conversations and to the things that come to me, because that is either my hell yes or my hell no of whether I'm going to do something or not. So the energy will always tell you where to go and what is in your greatest and best potential, what is of your greatest benefit. So that's kind of how I handle things. I don't make snap decisions. I kind of back up and I let the energy speak to me. That's the beautiful thing about our co-creative partnership is we've got these cues. We've got this awesome partnership to let us know what the next step is, where to go next, what is my smartest move, right? It's like chess, for crying out loud. Okay. The frequency we tune into can cause more irrational fears. And here are the ways. Here are the ways that we tune into these irrational fears and we allow fear to become real in our experience. So, this is creating your own reality. This is creating from a story of what you do not want. So, watching the news. Number one, watching the news. Anytime you are watching the news, you are tuning into all the shit that's going wrong in the world. Maybe I could count on one hand how many times I've heard a good story on the news. And it usually came off of a tragedy if it is something good, right? So a while ago, many, many years ago, this was probably 2008, 2009, when we were going through the whole financial thing. I watched the news every morning. I watched Good Morning America. It was something my mom did. So I would always have it on the TV and it would be, in the background, right? And I liked the people on it and whatever. So one morning, this was when I lived in Connecticut, there was a story, and you may remember this story, about a lady who had a pet monkey, and that monkey tore her friend's face off. I mean, this was so graphic and so gross, and it literally just brought me to my knees. Like I think I was crying. I was just like, how does this even happen? And she had like drugged the monkey. I mean, the story was insane. And her friend lived, and it was horrible. I mean, it was just the worst, I think the worst story I had ever heard on the news, right? So I realized at that moment what listening to this Good Morning America was doing to me every day. This was in the financial crisis. So every single day I was taking in that the economy was crashing. Every day I was watching my economy crash around me. And the anxiety that I was feeling was being perpetuated from tuning into that frequency of news. So I said, that's it. I'm not doing it anymore. I turned off the news and I turned on music, and I didn't watch the news for many, many years after that. And now it's like every once in a while just to see, I like to see what the collective is taking in, like, because it helps me to make sense of what people are doing right now. Oh, they're listening to the news. That's why they're doing that. So that story was so, it just woke me up. It literally woke me up to the fact that the news is just never, ever going to make you feel good. Tuning into conspiracy theories. When we are in fear, we are powerless. We feel very powerless. When we so being in that anxiety, I said before, it turns down the voice, that inner voice of your connection to your own guidance. When you are in anxiety, it interrupts the flow of the wisdom and the downloads that are trying to come to you that will help you to create what you're looking to create. So then we can be controlled. When we are feeling powerless, when we are living in fear, we can be controlled. There's like, we don't have any power over this. This is the problem with, a lot of us that have tuned into my freedoms are being taken away from me. That's the problem with that. That is the problem with that. I was in my car the other day, and I had a couple places to go. One was the hairdressers, and then the other place was my granddaughter's daycare. And my daughter had already told me that I needed to wear a mask, and I have already made a decision that I'm not wearing one anymore. And my husband as well. We have just like, it's a soul thing now. Like my soul is crying out, I'm not doing this anymore. Like we have to take our power back on all fronts. So I'm sitting in the car at the hairdressers, and I don't know what's going to happen, right? But of course, my mind is going off. Like, what am I going to do if they make me wear a mask, right? I've got to sit there for 2 hours, right? So I'm sitting there, and my heart is racing, and I walk in, there's no sign, and barely anyone is wearing one. And my hairdresser was not. And I was like, so I sit down in the chair, and my heart is racing, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is this about? What did I just do to myself? And then I leave there, and of course I want to do some energy work on this again, because obviously I still have a trauma there. And I think, a lot of the trauma is like getting yelled at, like getting in trouble, right? And then the other one is just like having to do something that feels so wrong to me just to appease something that feels so wrong, right? So then I went to my granddaughter's daycare and I just walked right in and smiled, and it was perfect timing because they were coming in from recess. So no one had a mask on because they were coming in from outside, and it just felt great. It felt great. I'm smiling everywhere I go. I'm smiling more. My capacity for joy has up leveled. I went to a restaurant the other day and they said we had to do it, and we said no, and we stood in our power, and they said okay. So this is the thing. Like, as much as, path of least resistance for you may be to wear one and to go. And there's not a lot of states left that are doing this. In California, we haven't had to wear one in like a year. So this is really it's really a lot. So, I'm working through it, and I'm working through these fears. And obviously I have another layer to go through. And obviously I have, opportunities now to step into my power like I didn't before. So that's amazing, right? Those are good things. Those are really good things. So when it comes to fear, fear is false evidence appearing real. If you can put that in your mind, every time you feel fear, it's false evidence appearing real because it's a story that you wrap around it. And it's always rooted in what we do not want. Always. It's always rooted in what we do not want. I have friends that bring stuff to me and I just look at it and I go, listen, if this is not what we want, then why would we talk about it? Why would we pay attention to it? We've done a really good job of getting away from those conversations because they're not full of fun. They're not full of joy, and they're not going to help us to get the most of our time together. They're going to actually bring us down into a lower vibration. Remember that people who are fearful are not connecting with that inner guidance. So it's good to be compassionate towards these people that are fearful. It's good. Compassion is good. And it's like, we could be there. We could be tuned into that frequency, but we have found out that we don't need to do that anymore. We have woken up. So you do not have to give all your power away. And the ones that are giving their power away and the ones that are living in fear, they're clearing something for the collective. This is why, and I think I might have shared this on an earlier show. I've really steered away from this conversation, but fear, it's going to bring this conversation up. This is why there was such a toilet paper shortage, because people were clearing their root chakras out. Yeah, right? I know. I heard that and I was like, oh, that makes sense. That fear of not having enough, that fear of running out of things, that fear of like starving to death. It's all rooted in the fear of death, really. Fear of getting sick, fear of dying. It's all rooted in that. So you've got to look at that and then ask yourself, like, what do I really believe? Do I believe I'm an expression of infinite energy? Do I believe that I'm non-physical, that I will go into non-physical, and that whatever my life is playing out, there is a destiny here? I'm not going to die before my time. I'm not going to be taken before my time. No one is taken before their time. That would be ridiculous. It's all laid out. It's all laid out. So I trust in that, and I have a lot of confidence in that, my ability to believe in destiny. Fear will always put you in a situation where you are forgetting who you are. You are forgetting that you are a powerful creator. You are a powerful creator. And you get to choose what frequencies you're tuning into. I know when we're in a serious, anxious, and fearful place, we don't feel like we're at choice. And again, it doesn't feel like a noun. It feels like a verb because it's taking your physical body and you're getting heart palpitations, and maybe you're getting a stomach ache, and you're getting that feeling of like dizziness and oh my goodness. And I know that it feels like it's a physical thing, but it's really just that energy is asking to be released. It's asking for you to pay attention, to go within, to breathe this stuff out, and to trust that when you deal with these energies, you're going to heal them. The best way to deal with fear is to look at it. Look at it. When we were going through our financial stuff and we were super fearful, we needed to get real about what was happening. We needed to look at what was happening in order to do that. In order to move things along, we had to look at shit and go, we've got to file bankruptcy. Like, we have no choice. We're looking at a lot of debt here that there is no way we can pay. We're looking at a mortgage that there's no way we can pay. So we had to look at some things that were hard to look at. But once we started looking at them, solutions started coming because we weren't trying to push the fear down anymore or push it away or pretend it wasn't there. You've got to really just look at the fear, because oftentimes it's way, way more in our minds than it actually is to deal with. Like, it's that whole making My parents used to say this all the time, making mountains out of molehills, right? Like that's what our mind does. It makes mountains out of molehills because the mind's mechanism is to keep us safe in the same and to put us in a position where we've got to work on things. So our expansion and growth is put to the side because now we got to deal with this shit. We got to deal with this big, fearful problem that's in front of us. So in order to take your power back in those times, you got to get back into that expression of infinite intelligence and the trust that there is non-physical support, that we've got this non-physical support, that we've got, this whole energy field all around us that scientifically and spiritually is supporting us and rooting for us. So you got to go into meditation. You got to quiet that mind. You got to go within and heal. And these are some of the questions that allow us to kind of clear this stuff out. Am I there yet? Let me see if I'm there yet. I'm going to jump ahead. Okay. So so when you're dealing in, when you're going into meditation and you've got this fear and you can feel it in your chest, or you can feel it in your stomach, or you can feel it in your throat, right? A lot of throat chakra stuff, because our throat gets shut down. This is why, when things are happening and we can't speak, we just shut down because we're afraid we're going to get in trouble. So when you start really foraging that relationship with yourself, fostering that relationship with yourself, and asking the questions, is there something that needs to be cleared here? What am I really feeling? What is at the core of this? What is the first time I ever felt fear like this before? What does it connect to? Because then you get to clear the trauma from down deep. This is the work that I do in my groups, and I'm going to be launching a new group really soon. I haven't firmed up the date, but I believe it's going to be like somewhere around the second week of January, maybe third week, because I've got to have time for transformation calls. So that's the work we do in the group, is like getting to that fear. Because if you don't get to the fear and you see these cycles in your life and you're playing them over and over and over again, it's because you haven't healed that cycle. You haven't healed that fear. And every opportunity, until the opportunity gets so big you can't ignore it anymore, all those opportunities are there for you to help you heal it and to become more, to expand and grow and become more. So other questions you can ask yourself is, what direction am I focused in? Am I focused on what I want? Probably not. If you're in fear, you're focused on what you don't want. It's that worst case scenario thinking, right? We do it all the time because our mind wants to keep us safe in the same. So we're thinking about all the shit we don't want to happen. And as we do that, we expand in more fear. We create more fear. We tune into the frequency of fear. And before we know it, because of law of attraction, because of universal law and momentum, we start seeing physical evidence of it. So then we get news articles and friends start texting us stuff and YouTube videos and all that stuff that just perpetuates the fear. So we've got to be really careful. If you're living in fear by what's coming to you, by what's happening in your experience, how often you're feeling it. Are you waking up at 2:00 in the morning with fearful thoughts? Are you thinking about what you don't want to happen to your kids or your family or yourself or your job? Right? Worst case scenarios create worst case scenarios. So we want to get out of that tendency. It's a tendency. It's a social programming, right? We always got to plan. We got to prepare for plan B because plan A is not going to work. That's the greatest way to get plan A not to work, is to have a plan B. I remember a while ago, we were catching a flight and we were with someone, a good friend. And it was the first time we ever flew with this person. And we were super late, and it was looking like we weren't going to make our flight. Traffic was crazy. And we had bags that we had to get on, and the lines were crazy. And so, you get into that anxious thing, and she's like, well, we need a plan B. And she's on the phone and she's trying to figure out like a next flight we can get on. And I'm like, but we haven't missed this flight yet. I'm like, there is no plan B. We're going with plan A. We're getting on the plane. This is working. And we ended up like connecting with somebody at the front of the line, like someone that worked there that got us through the line, that got us on the plane just in time. And I'm like, that's how my life works. Everything always works out for me. So in knowing that stress and anxiety of we're never going to make it, that does not enter into our vocabulary. It's like, you need to stop. She's in the back seat. I'm like, you need to stop because we are making this flight and it's happening and you need to hang up the phone because we don't need a plan B. I mean, I've seen this so many times, you guys. That was just a little thing, but I've seen it so many times. Fear is being focused on the wrong thing and being scared of something. Being scared of something, like being afraid that something is going to come to you, is the greatest way to invite it in. What you resist, you persist. So you have to really ask yourself, am I focused on what I want to happen? Or am I focused on what looks like is going to happen? Or am I focused truly on what I want to happen? And this has been a really interesting year, because there have been so many things that have felt out of our control. There's been so many things that have activated that energy of powerlessness. And it has been an everyday determination, moment by moment by moment, to take the power back. And that's how you become a powerful creator. That's how you show yourself. And then I see evidence of it. I see it all the time, in my everyday thing. I see it all the time. So I can speak to it and I can share it, and you can trust me about that. So, so we went through the different questions that we can ask. Asking yourself what you really feel is a huge part of, like, okay, so journaling, meditation, asking yourself how you really feel, drilling down into this energy field and finding out, like, is this a fear from when I was 5 years old? I mean, the fear that I have about, things over my mouth, I was probably 8 or 9 when those things happened to me. So these are little girl fears that I need to clear out because they don't serve me and they're not necessary. Do I still want to put something over my face? I don't. It's just soulfully, my heart, my inner guidance is telling me no more. So I'm going with that. I'm going with that inner guidance. If you have inner guidance that is telling you to wear a mask because you feel better about that, then do that. That's for you. That's great. That's perfect. That's what you're being called to do. If you're not, I'm going to tell you, it feels very different this time to stand in my power and do what's right for me and put an end to the things that no longer align with the life I want to live. It feels really good to do that. It feels very powerful. So when the fear comes up and you ask, when is the first time I ever felt this fear? Just drop in a little bit, and it may come to you later. You might not get it right then and there because, we've got, our mind is going crazy. It's not a mind thing. You're actually looking to just get really clear and ask these questions so they can drop in. You may have a memory. A person may pop up. Something you haven't thought of in 20 years may show up. So interesting how that happens. I've seen it hundreds of times with my clients, where it's like, oh my goodness, I totally forgot this happened. And it totally aligns with the feeling that I'm having right now. Then it's a cycle. Then you're being invited to heal it, especially if something really big has happened in your life, a big trauma that has called your attention to wake up and to stop living a life that is less than. And then you can go within and ask if you're willing to let this go. Because sometimes, you've got the addiction. So you have an addiction to your fear. You're addicted to drama. You like the way it makes you feel. I don't know. Maybe you do. So if you're willing to let this go, then you can ask for non-physical assistance. I ask all the time. Ask your angels, ask your guides. I don't know if you think that's weird. It doesn't matter. They're there, and they're there waiting for your invitation. They don't insert themselves. It's just a matter of asking and trusting and believing that we have this non-physical support. I see it all the time. I see evidence of it all the time. And it's so delightful. It is absolutely delightful. Okay, so I was thinking about, times that I've been in fear where I have felt real physical fear. The other day, I definitely felt it. Like, it felt like panic. My heart was racing, the whole thing, right? It was so silly. I'm like, it's so silly. I'm like a master manifester. I know how to do this shit. And this is showing up for me. It's just a call to heal. It's not a call to beat myself up. It actually was a call for me to call somebody that I know that does energy work. That's what I did. I reached out to somebody that I know does energy work. And I'm like, I got something to work on. It's an invitation for me to work on something. I want to get rid of this. I totally want to get rid of this because it doesn't serve me and I don't need to have this energy in my body any longer. I'm ready to let it go. So the times I've been in fear is when I couldn't pay rent. That was a big one when we first got to California, and there was just this massive fear of this 1 month when we were just really short, didn't prepare, didn't have enough money coming in. And I remember the panic. I remember the heart racing. I was almost dizzy, like, oh my gosh, how are we going to handle this kind of a thing. I remember it. And solutions came even though I was in that fear and anxiety. And I pushed the energy and I made it happen and I did what I needed to do. Yes. But I mean, no regrets. That's what I needed to do at that moment. That's what created my expansion growth. That's what created more trust in the universe when that money came through. So, yeah, that was really, really, really interesting time. I'll share a little bit about that. I think I've shared it before, but I don't know if I shared. We actually had asked somebody we know who's given us. They actually had given us money for a car once, and they give a donation to the church every year. They're super wealthy people. And so we reached out to them, and it was weird the way we reached out because they reached out to us first to ask my husband if he could do work for them. They didn't know that we had left Connecticut. So that was like, I'm like, that's your sign. You need to ask. And we asked and they said yes. And then right before they were going to give it to us, they changed their mind. So now we're like a couple days more into this like eviction notice and they changed their mind. And we're both just like, oh my God, what do we do now? Holy shit. So I kind of racked my brain. I wasn't sure what to do. And we're like, what are we going to do? And who can we ask? And, asking for money sucks. It's one of my least favorite things to do. It is extremely humbling and it's not really empowering. When you ask people for money and you take money from people, it's not empowering. I believe it was part of my expansion and growth to know what that feels like. Absolutely, without a doubt. So I had asked other people. They said no. It was really embarrassing. I asked quite a few people and it was really embarrassing. And yeah, it was tough. And then I got this inspiration to connect with this priest that I had, converted to Catholicism with. And I knew he was in the seminary, didn't know how to get in touch with him, but I knew somebody else that was in the seminary and I knew how to get in touch with him, this bishop. So I had called the bishop and he gave me the number to this priest and he saved our lives. Like that was the second time he saved our lives. And he is a man of God and he has passed on. And I know, I was thinking the other day, Father George, oh, he was something else. The first time that I went into the Catholic Church, it was for a christening and we weren't religious. We didn't have a religion. We were both, my husband was raised Catholic and I had Catholicism all around me, but I was raised Protestant. And I remember sitting in that church and going, this is home. Like it felt like home. And this man is speaking every word I need to hear. And he took me under his wing and taught me the catechism with my girls, like coloring on his floor. He was a man of God and he loved us. I was one of his favorite converts. It was me and this other woman that were his favorite converts. And, when I asked him for that money the second time, he gave me a little bit of a hard time. And I knew it was me just needing to work through that fear and just ask for what I needed and trusted that I was going to get it. And it literally saved our life. And it was the boost that we needed to just get through that time. So even though I had fear, I still got a download. It could have been different if I had chilled out, but it was almost felt impossible. That's what happens with fear, is we often feel it's impossible to live without it because it takes such a hold of us because it's in that body, it's in that pain body, that trauma body, not having enough, not being enough, those unworthiness energies that we work from. So that was a huge part of me up leveling, feeling like we had nothing to worry about, knowing that we were powerful creators, knowing that everything was going to work out for us when it looked so bad like it wasn't. When it looked like we were going to be homeless, I was like, we're never going to stop. We can't fail because we're never going to stop. We're always going to continue to trust and have faith and move forward. And that's exactly what happened. So those are times I've been in fear, looking for a new home, when I've got to get out of one place and get into another. The last time I did that with this, I felt the physical energy of fear, but my mind was like, there's no story. There's no story. There's absolutely no story wrapped around this. And I had total faith. And when I walked into the house that I live in now, I knew, like I totally knew. And there was a lot less fear than in the past, but I had done so much work to get to that healing place. When we were in the hotel, Oh, your bank account being negative. Oh man, nothing could drop my stomach more than seeing my bank account in the red. And then as I worked through that fear and I started healing it, because it happened so much, or my debit card being rejected, right? Like you're so embarrassed. Eventually I started looking at that and laughing and just being like, I am not negative in the universe. I am offering and serving and giving so much every single day, so much love. I am adding so much value to this universe. I just need the physical evidence to catch up. That's it. And so we stopped being so negative about it. We stopped connecting so much of our identity on that. And that's when abundance started to come in, because we tuned our frequency differently. We took our eyes and our attention off of that low vibrational energy, and we trusted and had faith and felt up leveled and got creative. We got super creative in the financial field. We had to, asking our car loans to go on the back of loans. Yeah, all sorts of good stuff like that. All right. So when you are about to do something out of your comfort zone, that's when fears can really show up. And that's when fear can really try. So this is something totally different. This is the fear of living your dreams. I have to put this in here. It's so necessary and important, because we worked through so much fear and anxiety, because what we did was we tuned down the dial of the fear and we turned up the dial of our desire. We turned up the dial of our heart. We started listening to our hearts and started tuning down the frequency of the fear, because we couldn't live that way anymore. When you feel like your soul is dying, you're like, I got to do something. When it gets so bad, those nails in the coffin, like I say, when it gets that bad, then you've got to work towards listening more to the heart, listening to the desires. And instead of saying, I can't have this because of this, this, and this, you start saying, how can I? How can I identify with this? How can I resonate with this? How can I create the energy of this? And then it's following your leads. It's following those intuitions. Fear can, I love this line. This is so good. Fear can often be the precursor to your expansion and growth. I got to say that again. I really love that. Fear can often be the precursor to your expansion and growth. So when I feel fear, often like when it comes to like doing something like way out of my comfort zone, speaking, whatever, I know I have to do it. So I just move forward. I just keep moving forward. I get ready to go. I do whatever I have to do. Recently, I just did a wedding. I just officiated my first wedding. Yes, I officiate weddings if you're interested, and I write personal vows for you. So anything, I have a conversation with you, I get to know you and your partner, and then I create something very intuitively for the vows, exactly tailored to how you want it to look. So I did that, and it was a small crowd. It was kind of perfect for my first wedding. And we went through a lot to get down to where the wedding was. It was on the beach, and we had to like hike through this like precarious thing, and wrong shoes, whole thing. And so by the time like the whole thing played out, I was already like an hour and a half to 2 hours with these people. And on the ride there, I start thinking and I start feeling that like that energy. I start feeling that energy in my chest that I get when I'm about to speak in front of people. And I realized, fear and excitement are the same exact energy. They're the same energy coming through your body. It's the meaning that you give to them that creates the manifestation. So it's the story you wrap around the energy. I am fearful. I am scared. I'm going to screw this up. That story is what manifests more of that energy. So if instead you were to turn that energy towards your excitement, which I did on the ride there, I'm excited. I am a part of something. And one of the big things was like, this isn't about me. This is about them. This is about holding space for love and for marriage, which I am such a big lover and believer in, that I get to, put energy into something like that is such an honor. And it's, it's a sacrament. It's beautiful. So I kept turning it towards excitement. You know how to do this. You know how to talk. You know how to speak. You know how to have infinite wisdom coming through you. That's all you have to do. So it was easy. It was really easy. It was actually it was very thrilling because I tuned into my excitement instead of my fear. So anytime you have to speak in front of people, they say public speaking is next to death and fear. So hello. Anytime you have to public speak in front of people, it's taken some practice. I've worked on this for the past, I was in network marketing. So I've spoken in front of like 4,000 people. Not to brag. That was freaking terrifying. Holy shit. I've spoken in front of a lot of people, week after week after week being in that. And then I started my business speaking, but I haven't been speaking. So kind of out of practice other than like talking to a computer by myself in my room. So I've been a little out of practice. I've had a few speaking engagements here, but nothing like that, nothing. I haven't done a wedding before. So it's tuning that frequency into your excitement. What do I love about this? What do I get to offer? What do I get to spread my energy all over? It's so cool when you can do that. I recently had a beautiful friend that I just made, who I just adore. And she was starting a new business and she was telling me how she was afraid and she was scared and she was giving her all the reasons why this might not work out. And I told her that. I said, fear and excitement are the same energy. It's just the story you wrap around it. And she was like, and it really hit her. And she really understood it. And because of that, she actually created a really thriving, beautiful business. And she's so happy she did. She's so enjoy. And she thanked me recently for that. And I thought that was really cool. All right. So I got to get into, let me see what I have here. Oh, all right. So so when you start feeling some fear, ask yourself, what direction am I focused on? Am I focused on what I don't want to happen? Am I focused on being fearful? Am I focused on people's judgment? What am I focused on? And what do I want to be focused on? Okay. So that will help shift the energy to get you in a different thing. Here are some ways to manage yourself from fear into tuning into a different frequency. These are great reminders. What do I want to happen? I love asking people that because so often people are in like what they don't want to happen. What do I want to happen? Write it down. Writing is the strongest form of focus. I did this with my daughter. She wants to find a new job. We wrote down everything she wanted to feel in that job, everything she wanted to experience in that job. Work on trust. So I trust. Work on saying that shit. I trust. I trust that this is all going to work out for me. I trust that everything always works out for me. It always works out for my greatest benefit, no matter what it looks like right now. And especially if it looks like it's not going to work out for me right now, I know that it is. I know the energy is about to shift. When that energy gets super dense, and it looks like things are not going to work out for you, that's when it's about to shift, and you just have to hold on and you got to keep moving forward, and you've got to point yourself in that right direction of what you want to happen. Realize that this is the journey to expansion and strengthening your faith. Anytime you walk through fear, anytime you do it anyway, you feel the fear and you do it anyway. Anytime you do that, you are expanding and growing into more. Breaking free from fear means standing in your power and becoming a more confident being. So just for a couple of minutes, let me grab some water. I want to talk about confidence because confidence is huge. And one of the biggest killers to confidence is fear. It's fear. It's fear. And this is the fear that not being in your confidence is connected to. Asking yourself, what am I really afraid of? So most likely you are afraid of judgments from other people. And I will tell you this, people cannot judge you unless you are judging yourself. So you've got to heal that shit. You got to get back into your self-love. You got to remember who you are, because that confidence piece is all comes from within. It is not what people show you. It is what you're feeling inside that they will reflect. It's not people, cheering you on, telling you that you're great. It's how you feel inside that will allow them to reflect that to you. It will allow them to listen to you. It will allow them to let you do things, that they probably were told not to let you do because you stood in your power and you stood in your confidence, and they knew there was no way I'm going to bully this person. Confrontation. A lot of us are afraid of confrontation. I see a lot of that going on right now. Nobody wants to get in trouble. Nobody wants to get yelled at. That's a 5-year-old thing. That for sure is a 5-year-old thing. And it's like not wanting to be emotional, like not wanting, this was a big thing for me. I didn't want to be triggered and I didn't want to get super emotional and I didn't want to be in a low vibration. So I'm working on that. I'm working on that. I'm working on being a little lighthearted about this shit. I'm working on just being me, just bringing my light, bringing my love. And I will tell you, I went to a couple of stores this weekend. And the energy that first of all, I gave permission to a few people to take their masks off. But the energy that I felt from people that worked there, that worked in these stores, was so beautiful and so loving. And I'm like, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to smile. Same thing with my granddaughter's daycare. I'm just going to smile and be me and be loving. And nobody's going to say shit to me because I'm in my power. I'm in my high vibrational power. And if they do say something, then I just connect. I have the ability to connect with anybody, right? And not live in a triggered state and not be overly emotional about stuff because everyone is just doing what's best for them. So if I share what's best for me and I can get on a plane of really enlightening someone to, the fact that this isn't right for everybody, then that's great. Getting in trouble. That's a big one. That was a big one. And not being liked. Oh, we all have the fear of not being liked, right? When you're in a position, like when you take on a new job and you're trying to do a new position and you're trying to be someone, the best thing you can always do is be yourself. Be yourself. Bring your gifts, bring your talents, bring who you are to the table, because that is what's going to create the greatest frequency for you. It's not trying to be somebody you think you're not. It's not trying to perform from an impossible standard. It's bringing you, because you are powerful. You are brilliance. You are the essence of infinite intelligence. So bringing you to the table is the only thing you need to do. Let your light shine. Stop dimming your light because you're afraid. There's the other fear of like being too big, being too bright, being too, having people be jealous of you. And that, I definitely have had issues with that. And it's like, when you don't give a shit and you just stand in your power, everyone tends to up level with you. You tend to bring the energy of the room up. And it's incredible what happens when you live life from that perspective. But there's a lot of healing work that goes into this. It's not just like, oh, I step into my power and I'm good. It's like, I got to work on the deeper stuff. I got to work on that stuff underneath that has been creating for way too long. And the way to do that is through journal, meditation, energy healers, or my new group that's coming up, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, stepping in your power is not giving a shit. It is letting go of all of those old stories, that have created for long enough. The identities that you have taken on because of people who have told you that you're not good enough, that you can't do things, that you shouldn't do things. All those old stories, when you start meditating, you separate yourself from those stories and then you look in and you go, oh, I'm somebody pretty fantastic. And then you start loving yourself. And because you love yourself, you get reflection of that from the outside world. And that's when you're living life golden. Seriously, it's fantastic. So I want that for all of you. Okay. So, one last thing, when I started doing speaking, one of my really, really good friends worked for Dale Carnegie, and she was a speaker, and she was teaching us different tactics about how to be like a really good speaker. And one thing she said that always stayed with me was the power stance, because we tend to kind of like put our shoulders down and talk, and we're like afraid and we're kind of shrinking away. But if you're in a power stance and you're kind of up and your shoulders are back and both your feet are planted on the floor, and you're in that power stance, you're going to feel different. You connect with that infinite intelligence, that energy that is running through you, because you're kind of taking your power. You're in that power stance, right? Like, how did Wonder Woman stand, right? Like, she was in the power stance. So think about that when you're addressing someone, when you feel like you might be in a confrontation, just be in your power stance. Stop shrinking away. Start really coming from your confidence, bringing that belly up. Because when you bring your belly up, you're stretching out that solar plexus. You're allowing energy to move in the abdomen, which is your power center. So moving forward is the best way to overcome fear. It's the best way, doing it anyway, feeling the fear, doing it anyway, showing yourself how incredibly powerful you are, working on training that mind, healing those old stories through meditation and journaling. Life begins on the other side of this fear. Your capacity for joy is so immense when you start really standing in your power and start living your life from that place. That capacity for joy is so worth it when you work through this fear, the belief that you can live your dreams, that heart that is calling you, those desires that are calling you are for very good reason, and they deserve to be answered. So I am ready. I am ready to take a train full of people and just create from our power and let these fears go and no longer allow fear to talk us out of things, no longer allow fear to keep us small, no longer allowing fear to, create this misery, like this low level of quiet desperation where everybody's like, when are we going to be able to live again? It's like, live your freaking life right now. Please live your life now. Now is the time. If we're hiding and worried about, illness or death, we're waiting to die. That's what we're doing. When we're not living our lives, we are waiting to die. So, get back into exercise, get your health back, get your friends back, do the things that are lighthearted and joyful, express, get creative, and really work from your power. And you will see an incredible result in your life. That was so good. So I am here for you. Don't forget, if you want to, I'll put the link in the comments if you would like to support the podcast. I now have 41 hours of content, so there's plenty here. And I am right now, I am like an idea machine. I have so many ideas. I'm actually working on the prequel to Quantum Speak, which is going to be my life story. I'm going to share a lot of things that I've never shared before. So I'm working on that one. I've got a new group starting, Ignite the Fire Within, which is a 6-week course that's going to take you through releasing a lot of this stuff, stepping in your power. We've had incredible results with the women. I've had about, I think, 20 women come through this. The results have been incredible. It's a great way to connect with me. It's a great way to get a sample of my work. So I will be offering transformation calls soon. If you would like to do a transformation call with me in the beginning of January, I have family here until about the 5th. Email me, livelifegolden@gmail. Let me know and I'll save you a spot. Transformation calls are amazing. They're about an hour and a half. I do some energy release work. We work on something specific. You actually get a shift and a transformation in those calls. And in exchange, I just explain the program and see if it's right for you. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good exchange. I will also put my link to the store. So I've got my Live Life Goldyn reminders, products that were super fun to make. And they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. Yeah, it's like that with Live Life Goldyn on it, the wave. So the wave is all about the quantum wave of energy, that what we send out is what we get back, that as we allow that wave to create, it breaks down into particles and becomes physical matter. And that is how everything is created from, right? Yes. So I love you all. This was a great show about fear. Please let me know if you have something specific you are working on. You can find me on Facebook. I've got a Live Life Goldyn page on Facebook that you can post a question on. And I'm also on Instagram at Live Life Goldyn. And I would love, love, love to connect with you. Our Live Life Goldyn page on Facebook is growing by leaps and bounds. I think we got 50 new members this week, or 45 new members. So please share that group. Please share the podcast. If you could share the podcast, that would be amazing, because the more people that know about this and the more people that take their power back right now, the less fear we're going to see, the less fear mongering we're going to see, because we're going to tune into those frequencies of living our life from a higher vibration. Fear does not belong in love and appreciation. Fear does not belong in living from your power. Fear does not belong in living from your passions and working towards your dreams. It dissipates. It dissipates. So I would love to live in a world where we are fearless and we are living our dreams and our desires, and we are loving and appreciating everything we have. And because of that, we will create more. All right. I love you, gal. Peace.